If you're stuck on Monster Train and you want some tips to defeat the game your first time, then this guide is for you. Now, if you're even more experienced than I am, you might still find something useful, so stay tuned. We're going to go over 10 tips in 9 minutes, so let's get right to it. Let's dive right in with step 1 and check our Covenant level. The Covenant level is an increasing difficulty scale in Monster Train 2 that adds additional challenge every step of the way. If you drop this to 0, you're going to play on the base game difficulty, and you can always raise it up in future runs once you get used to the unique style of deck building that this game has. It's perfectly acceptable to drop it to 0 before you get your first wins under your belt. Tip number 2 is for clan setup. Monster Train 2 decks are built around what they call a primary and a secondary clan. Your primary clan is going to determine your starting hero. So for beginners, that means you're either going to get Fel or Lord Phoenix, depending on which clan you set as primary. Your clan may also influence your starting deck and card rewards, so you're going to want to build around that. This is going to give you a little bit of synergy options and everything else. With tip number 3, we're actually in the game now, and it's going to be all about positioning. In your train, you have 3 floors to choose from for your unit placement, and depending on the unit size, you can usually fit 2 or sometimes 3 units on a floor. Why does this matter? Positioning is going to be key for several reasons. First, your enemies come in at the bottom of the train and they'll work their way up. Unless your units have the quick buff, the enemies by default are going to take the first hit, and they're going to attack your unit that is on the right as long as it stays standing. This means that you can put a tanky unit like a shield steward in front of a character that can hit hard but has low health. As far as vertical placement goes, try not to stack all of your heavy hitters on one floor, or when the enemy sends their own tanky units in, you're not going to be able to stop them at all. And your pyre is going to end up taking a lot of damage. Remember, all non-boss units have 1 attack phase per round by default, so your units are only going to deal the amount of damage to the front enemy unit that is equal to the number shown here. Unfortunately, the tanky units aren't usually the enemies that you want to take down first, which is going to lead me to tip number 4. This is a pretty universal rule for many games, with of course some exceptions, and that is to focus on the healer. Especially true in Monster Train, if you let the healer advance from floor to floor, then every time it raises up another floor, it's going to heal all of the enemies that you didn't kill. And it's going to negate a lot of the work that your units just did. There are other magic users to focus on as well that can add curse cards into your deck and give you some pretty hard negative debuffs. Focus on these guys as much as you can to get them out quickly. And we're going to do this by using our spells. Instant damage spells are insanely valuable in this game to control the board state and focus down the enemies in back that are going to do a ton of damage. Now's a great time to caw down in the comments section, subscribe for more, and charge forward to hit harder every turn as we move on to tip number 6. Next, we're going to talk about routes. After every battle, you have the option to choose one of 2 paths with your train. Each path presents you with 2 options, and knowing what your deck needs most should dictate which path you take. Naturally, if your pyre health is critically low, you should definitely look for a route that's going to offer you some kind of health options. Otherwise, take a look at your merchant options. There are several of them, and you need to decide what you want to upgrade most. Do you need better units, better spells? Do you need to buy some artifacts or room cards? How about the card reward options that are out there? Do you want to add units or spells? Do you want to add something from your primary clan or your secondary clan? There are also special events that are going to allow you to remove cards. We're going to talk more on that later. You're going to visit special sites for powerful finds and several other things. Look at the route as a whole unless you really need one particular path node. Also, a quick bonus tip, visit your merchant last, because the merchant upgrades will often affect a card that you might pick up also on that same path. You can visit the merchant any number of times, but make sure you keep an eye on the amount of gold you have. Using that gold to upgrade your units and spells makes an incredible difference, and make sure to take advantage of tip number 7, which is to turn on the challenges. Once you turn on those challenges, if you complete it, you're going to get extra gold at the end of the fight. Gold is huge in Monster Train for upgrading your cards, getting those key artifacts and abilities and enchantments, everything. You're going to get a base amount of gold for completing each fight. You're going to need gold for a lot of things every round. And that's going to lead me to tip number 8. Remove your cards. The starting decks in this game aren't terrible, especially your shield stewards. But many of your starting cards are going to be quickly outscaled by more powerful cards as you pick them up and upgrade them. Also, you start with a lot of starting cards. So removing the less useful cards, or removing the cards that you have too many of, means you can draw more useful cards more often, and you can draw the more useful units during your deployment phase. Tip number 9, it's time to start looking into synergies. Synergy in a game like Monster Train is when you're going to have cards and units that interact together in a positive way. Take a look at this dragon. Every time we play a spell on this floor, he applies fire gel to every enemy on the floor, which means that those enemies are going to take more damage later on. So, if I have a lot of damage dealing spells in my hand and a couple of buff spells in my hand, I should play the buffs first, because that's going to apply fire gel stacks to the enemies, and then when I deal the damage to the enemies, they're going to naturally deal more damage based on the amount of fire gel that's already built up. Finally, let's talk about those boss rewards. Every time you defeat a boss, you get a big upgrade to your game. You either can get additional Ember, which is your energy every turn, plus an additional energy in the deployment phase. You can get an additional draw on your every turn, or you can get additional unit space on every turn. Each of these are going to be useful all the time, but if you look closely, there's likely to be one specific upgrade that is going to give your deck the biggest boost you need to push forward. For instance, maybe you have a lot of high cost units and spells in your deck, then you need to pick up, of course, the Ember boost. Do you have a lot of units in your deck and don't have space for all of them? Maybe you should pick up the space increase. Are you running out of cards every turn? Then you should probably pick up the draw increase. Also note that no matter which boost you take, your Pyre is going to get additional health and attack damage for each of these. In the final bonus tip, we're gonna just talk about the fact that this game does have some metascaling. You unlock more cards, more artifacts, and more units as the game progresses. So every time you play, you have these little unlock meters, and as you unlock things, you're going to have more chances to build a better deck next time you play. That's going to be all for today. I've really enjoyed Monster Train 2 so far while we're waiting for Spire to come out. Write me a call down in the comments section. Tell me what you like most about this game and how you've been enjoying it. And good luck.